Hello again and welcome to Identity Manager version 7 bits. Do you have ever heard that word resources? I know them as resources, account resources, assignment resources, human resources, business resources, file system resources, multi-requestable resources, multi-cancelable resources, and I'm absolutely sure there are some more resources in the world. In this specific video, I want to show you what we have done in Identity Manager 7 and how we have replaced all the old resources with new data objects. I want to show you the follower of the account resources, which are the account definitions, and I want to show you how we have improved the IT operation data feature. And now follow me to the screen and it doesn't look like that, but to be honest, in this chapter we are talking about the resources and the resource table. Remember, in the past in Identity Manager 6, we have had the resource table containing a number of very interesting and specific resources. There was the standard resource that was used for nearly everything that was not really applicable to one of these other tables. There was something that was called the account resource, and the account resource was a resource to get an account in a specific target system. There was an assignment resource that was often used to assign permissions to roles or something like that. And there was resources able to request something many times and sometimes to get them many times cancelled. For example, like a mailbox quota, where you can just order 1 or 2 or 3 of them to increase your quota and then to cancel some of them if the size of your mailbox is too expensive. In version 7, nearly all of these resources was replaced by specific and explicit data objects. The reason for that, all the resources to be stored as specific items in the same resource table was a bit painful. Doing so, the account resources itself was completely overworked, and it's now something that is called account definition. They are stored in a table that is called TSB account definition. The resources itself, that means the standard resource, are again stored in the resource table, but this time named QER resource. Assignment resources was as well stored in a complete new data object called QER assign. Multi-requestable and cancelable resources exists now as specific data object as well. Multi-requestable resources are stored in QER reuse. And multi-cancelable resources are stored in QER reuse US. With that, the developers are hoping that it is easier to handle now the different business processes just by using different data objects instead of creating painful filters to get the right resource selected. But again, please note that all of these resources are not only divided because we want to store them in different data objects. This is as well because a lot of them, for example the assignment resources, are completely overworked from a functional perspective as well. In the past, every time when we connected an Active Directory account to a person object, there was a small amount of data actions between the person object and the account. This is because in identity management, person object is something like an authoritative source and drives account objects. In specific situations in projects, this is sometimes not really a good idea, especially if the data quality on the identity management side is not that good than it should be, which is very typical for an initial phase of an identity management project. Because of that, in version 7, the complete mapping was overworked. It exists the old version where you can just assign a person object to an account. And then, out of the box, there are 2 automation levels, and these automation levels decide how many data will be transferred from the person object to an account object. If we use an automation level called unmanaged, then automatically only a few data will be transferred. It will be that few data that is necessary to get such an account created or linked. If an automation level called full managed is used, then the person object properties drive completely the account object properties and everything is transferred where are templates built for. In difference to the past, now exists a third option, and this third option is called linked account. It is possible to link an account object without any usage of a managed level because that is not configured. If this is the case, it is just a poor and rare linkage. there is no data flow from the person object to the account object or something like that. Additionally to that, if you are not happy with unmanaged or full managed account automation level, then you are able to build your own automation level as it was possible before. As well, a little bit unhandy was the definition of level of automation. It may be that you know this level of automation a little bit better as managed level. Remember the past in version 6, there was the account resource, and on the account resource there was the capability to define up to 15 additional managed level. Additional to full managed behavior and the unmanaged behavior that was predefined in the identity manager. With version 7, the limitation of managed level is completely gone. Managed level are now stored in a specific table called TSB behavior, and you can create as many more custom managed level as you like. As well, very new is that these managed level can now be assigned to account definitions as you like it. That means you can define a number of 15 managed level, and then you can assign these managed levels to the different account definitions exists in the system as well. With that, managed level can be used to define the behavior in case of account deactivation or temporary deactivation, and these managed level could be considered in templates like before. Remember, every time you create a new level of automation, which is the managed level, you will as well have to implement something into templates so that some data actions depending on your new level of automation comes true. As well, a very nice new feature is that you can define many more account definitions than before. Remember, in version 6 it was just possible to define one account resource per domain or per target system. In the Identity Manager version 7 world, you can now define as many account definitions as you like for your specific target system, and they could all in the same way be handled than the account resource before. Using IT operation data was always a very limited feature as well. Originally born just to map very fast data to properties, it was developed for proof of concepts. That means for more or less not a productive use. Because of that, IT data was always only definable for one domain, for example, and it was always painful if another Active Directory domain, for example, was using other IT data than the first Active Directory domain. In these cases in the past, in version 6, it was necessary to customize the system heavily so that at the end a complete new IT data structure was built. Now, I want to show you here in this slide what IT data are. IT operating data are specific values could be assigned during an account creation based on a depending location, department or cost center. They are used because very often authoritative sources like an HR system contain not the necessary information, for example, to create an Active Directory account. Remember, something like an Active Directory container, it's not something that an HR system knows about, but it is not possible to create that account without this information. Because of that, IT data could be defined, for example, on the basis of a department structure or on the basis of a location structure, and missing data like the Active Directory account container could be just calculated and inserted into the new account object on the basis of a department or a location assignment to the person, which is part of the HR data. At the end, because of the IT data, with a few information coming from the HR system, it is possible to build and create new accounts in target systems without any manually and additionally action. The next question could be how to get this IT operation data mapped and configured for the system. Remember, in version 6 there was a number of configuration parameters, and these configuration parameters was able to configure where the IT data came from and how it gets calculated and what happens if the IT data it's not configured, and that means the administration team was not adding some data to the IT data. In these specific cases in the old world there was an according configuration parameter, and this according configuration parameter was containing a standard value to be used if the IT data was not configured. Now, this is completely overworked. First of all of these configuration parameters are gone, and we have something defined that is the mapping definition. And this mapping definition, stored in TSB IT data mapping, it's now something that tells the system where the IT data comes from. in difference to the past. We can define the IT mapping for target systems. This is like it was before. I can define a specific IT data mapping for a specific Active Directory domain or LDAP realm or something like that. But additionally to that, now it's possible as well to assign these mappings to account definitions. What does that mean? If there is somewhere an account, depending on an account definition A, there might be an ADS container B just assigned to them based on that definition. But for the same domain, for another account definition, for example for an admin account, I can as well assign an other container to that definition that automatically then will configure another container then for the others. At the end, this new flexibility in IT data mapping now enables me to do many new things. First of all, I can define as many mappings as I want to for different domains without any painful limitations. The second thing is that I now can define how IT data should work. Should it work domain-wide, that means for every account and every account type, or should it be bound on an account definition, which then means on an account type? What I have to do first is to define account definitions or to insert a target system into the system. And if that is done, I can define a mapping definition, and this mapping definition replaces the configuration parameters I have had before. Once that is configured, I can start adding my IT data and start to create accounts. The way in version 6 to operate or to admin this IT operating data was just to go to a master data page, for example on a department or a cost center or whatever, and to configure something. And a little bit, I will say, confusing for a lot of people was to understand when I see some IT data or not. That was depending on some configuration parameters and what was activated in the system. At the end, this slide here shows an overview which IT data exists out of the box. And that is, for example, in Active Directory, something like the ADS container, home server, profile server, home, and terminal profile. Is group account, is privileged account. And for every other target system exists something other else that could be used. For example, for Exchange, the mailbox database, and for Lotus Notes, the server, the certificate, and the template for the mail file. What is very new in version 7, and this is very important, is that additionally to all of that and all of this out-of-the-box functionality, there is the capability to create custom-defined IT operation data. That means you can, in one Identity Manager now, handle each value what you want with the help of IT data. The only thing that is necessary to do that is that for this specific field exists a template that can handle IT operating data. This is one of the things we will show you as well later on in this training. In the very same way than before, IT data are managed. That means, according to the IT data and according to the automation level we discussed before, exists templates, and these templates are using this data to generate and modify values depending on the rules implemented into that IT operation data. A bit tricky to understand is the behavior how I can get custom fields for IT data. And therefore, I have to do the following. I have to go to that column I want to configure with IT data in the future and to implement a template. And this template must point to a very specific function that is named tsb_IT_data from org. And with the help of this function, I can as well configure that IT data later on, for example, on a department, cost center, or location, depending on where the template was built for. Because all of these template functions are sometimes a little bit unhandy, it makes sense to say this function, tsb_IT_data from org, it's marked as overridable. That means you can create a custom function, and this custom function can show the name tsb_IT_data from org, which then enables you to implement new functionality into that mapping script without modifying all of these standard templates calling this. Additionally to that, for every other change, for example, the creation of a new automation level, which is as well considered in templates, you have automatically to overwork these template scripts to make sure that your new functionality, for example, your new automation level, it's part of the calculation and will do whatever you want.